The thing we advocate for is minimizing our digital footprints and stopping or minimizing the leakage of our personal data. And that will continue to benefit everyone who does that. If you are thinking long term and taking steps to always leave a minimal digital footprint, then in the future, whether it's the current administration or a future administration doing something untoward with personal data, the less of it you have out there, the less you can be harmed by this. Welcome to the Sovereign Computing Show, presented by ATL BitLab. I'm Jordan Bravo, and this is a podcast where we teach you how to take back control of your devices. Sovereign computing means you own your technology, not the other way around.
This episode is sponsored by ATL BitLab. ATL BitLab is Atlanta's Freedom Tech hackerspace. We have co-working desks, conference rooms, event space, maker tools, and tons of coffee. There is a very active community here in the lab. Every Wednesday night is Bitcoin night here in Atlanta. We also have meetups for cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, decentralized identity, product design, and more. We offer day passes and nomad passes for people who need to use the lab only occasionally, as well as memberships for people who plan to use the lab more regularly, such as myself. One of the best things about having a BitLab membership isn't the amenities, it's the people. Surrounding yourself with a community helps you learn faster and helps you build better. Your creativity becomes amplified when you work in this space. That's what I think, at least. If you're interested in becoming a member or supporting the space, please visit us at atlbitlab.com. That's atlbitlab.com. All right, on to our show.
Welcome to the Sovereign Computing Show. I'm Jordan Bravo, and I'm recording here today from the heart of Atlanta in ATL BitLab with Stephen DeLorme.
Sup?
And we want to remind you that you can boost into the show with Fountain or another app such as Podverse. You can also email us at sovereign@atlbitlab.com. That's SOVEREIGN at atlbitlab.com. And remember, we now can be found with the name Sovereign Computing. So if you can look in any of your podcast players, whether that's Apple, Spotify, et cetera, and you will be able to find the search results for the Sovereign Computing Show, and you can subscribe there and you can listen in any app that you choose. It's been a few weeks since we've released an episode, and we apologize for that. We were getting a new production flow going. We have a new editor, and hopefully we will be able to return to our weekly schedule now, and you'll see them once a week, typically on the same day, but we hope you'll stay tuned for a lot more good episodes coming up in the future. All right, we have a few news articles that we want to take a look at. Stuff that's been going on recently that's relevant. The first one we're going to talk about is the headline is Trump taps Palantir to create master database on every American. And if you haven't heard about this, the Trump administration is planning to collect data on Americans, and they are contracting with the company Palantir to do this. Palantir is a military contractor. The article that we have on the screen here is the New Republic, newrepublic.com. And this is a pretty typical left-wing biased publication, but just keep that in mind. However, it still is reporting facts here that are going to be the same no matter where you get the information. So this article injects its opinion a little bit here and there. It says stuff like far-right billionaire Peter Thiel, but the point is Trump has enlisted the firm founded by Peter Thiel to carry out his executive order for instructing government agencies to share data with each other. And the danger here that we see, at least, is that this is another of the, we talked about this problem before when Doge was going through the Social Security information, but the problem here is that they want to create a giant database of Americans' personal informations. And I think ostensibly this is for Trump and the administration to be able to crack down more on illegal immigration. I don't know what the supposed benefits of it would be, but the problem for people who care about privacy is that this is a large centralized database of personally identifiable information, and any database can be cracked. And the bigger a database of information, the more of a centralized honeypot it is, the bigger of a target it is for hackers and rogue agencies, rogue governments, etc., that could leak it. And then once they do, that's a huge treasure trove of personal data that they can share. Stephen, do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't know. I don't know that I'm nearly as alarmed by it. I don't know if that's wrong of me, but at least my read of this article is that this is data that these government agencies already have. And, it's like Palantir is just being tapped to help organize this data and make it more accessible and, easily searchable and all of that. So yes, the idea of a easily searchable master database on all US citizens sounds scary. Having said that, it's kind of are we going to ask it's weird to ask an organization to function ineffectively. I don't know. I guess it's rational for any organization to want to have its data easily searchable and indexable and all that. I mean, maybe that sounds naive of me to say that. So I don't know. I guess I'm not saying I love it. It's just, it sounds expected. I mean, I think we should really to a certain degree, we have to get used to this sort of thing because, well, actually, this will be the second time today I've said this on a podcast, but I think when you look back at what happened with Doge and you have the speed at which they moved with Doge was incredible, right? And you had, young people getting involved in government, young people with technical skills using AI to move much quickly, process massive amounts of data very quickly. Doge moved quicker than we are used to government moving. And, we might have to get used to that being the norm. We're used to thinking of governments as being very slow moving things, I think. But using AI and using technology and using more motivated people, that may not always be the case. And I think we might have to get used to the idea that especially when the pendulum swings and, eventually we'll have a left-wing president again. That next administration very well could do the exact same thing if they were motivated enough. They could put in very fast-moving, highly motivated people with AIs who, are able to make change very rapidly. So I don't know. I'm not saying I love it. It's kind of expected to me. And I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think this doesn't really change anything as far as advice goes. The thing we advocate for is minimizing our digital footprints and stopping or minimizing the leakage of our personal data. And that will continue to benefit everyone who does that. If you are thinking long term, then and taking steps to always leave a minimal digital footprint, then in the future, whether it's the current administration or a future administration doing something untoward with personal data, the less of it you have out there, the less you can be harmed by this or any of it.
I'll tell a fun / scary story about this kind of thing. And my background was doing a lot more marketing design work, like video and motion graphics and all that kind of stuff. And with the company I worked for, we worked a lot more with tech companies or B2B tech products and stuff. I used to have to work on a lot of videos and stuff that were for kind of tech products targeted at governments and stuff. Like, they might be marketed to police or like emergency services or disaster response, like not all like bad stuff, right? Obviously, with like a disaster response, I think you want that to be very coordinated and efficient. But I remember this one product I had to do a video for was very alarming to me, because when I was being shown the like videos and screenshots of the product, I was like, holy crap, they can do this? The reason I'm reminded of this particular product is because it was, they were telling me like, oh, this is like, they're trying to compete with Palantir, or they like want to be like seen as like roughly analogous to Palantir. And so I was looking through this product, and like basically, you could just type in a person's name and it would just like pull up this like web of details about the person. It was very creepy. Like you could just type in somebody's name and it would generate this like chart for you, and it would be like, so the name would be in the center, and then it would have like little like lines going out to different nodes, and it would say like, these are all the addresses that this person's connected to, and then these are all the phone numbers that this person's connected to, and these are all the Twitter handles they're connected to, and so on and so on and so on. Then it would map out, and it would like connect them to like known associations. Like, for example, it might be like let's say you were connected to an address. Well, it would also show you another person that was connected to that address too. Like, like maybe it was like a former roommate you had, or someone who co-signed on the lease with you, or whatever it was, or maybe it was someone else who is also connected to the same phone number, or whatever. And so like this data has to exist in some form, right? Like either, at the phone company, or at, if you've signed a lease for an apartment or whatever, all this data, it has to already be out there, but I think it just makes it more easily searchable. But it was very just like alarming to me that somebody could just go like buy a product like this, and it would be able to easily search all that information, and then could like present it in this nice, like easily digestible graphic. So it's pretty alarming out there, like how much data is like already out there and already in databases. And the government wants to buy access to one of these products and like, get all this stuff they can. I guess what wasn't clear to me when I was working on the project was, are they buying access to the data, or are they providing the data and using the product to make the information more easily searchable? That's what I wasn't clear on. But yeah, these products exist, and they've been out there for a long time on the market. And this kind of goes back to something we said on another podcast, where it's like, this thing has always been a problem, the amount of data that's out there, and your privacy being leaked and compromised. We just only worry about it depending on how we feel about the president. But it's always a concern. It's always an issue. And I don't know, I was alarmed. So anyways, that's my personal story.
Well, roughly what year was that you saw that product?
2014, I think, if memory serves.
Okay, so you can imagine how in the past 12 years, or 12-ish years, 11-ish years, it's only gotten
11
a lot scarier with the advances in AI and data collection.
Oh, I'm sure it has. I mean, that was supposed to be like cutting edge stuff at the time, that it was like, this thing identifies connections between people, places, and things that a human would have trouble doing. So now with like agentic AI, it's probably even better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you probably just upload like a blurry photo of somebody, and it, probably pulls up a full dossier and backstory and all that. I don't know.
Well, with that thought, it behooves us to stay vigilant.
Yep.
All right, I think we've talked about this article, all there is to talk about. The next one that we're going to talk about is, the headline is WhatsApp AI mistakenly, let's see here.
It's terrifying. WhatsApp AI helper mistakenly shares user's number. I don't know why I said it in that voice.
So we've got the article on the screen for those of you watching, and we'll of course have all of these links in the show notes. But the gist of this article is that a WhatsApp user was using WhatsApp's built-in Meta AI, which is provided by Meta, the parent company, and it he asked for the phone number of somebody in his contacts. He said, call so-and-so. And what the AI did was it pulled a number out of seemingly nowhere and called that number, and it was the wrong number. But it wasn't just a random number. It was the number of another WhatsApp user, just a stranger to this person, but it was a real number and it was a real WhatsApp user. So the question is, where did it get that phone number? It seems like it got it out of the WhatsApp database. And so if it's not clear why that's a big deal, the AI was somehow granted access to, if the AI has administrative access, let's say, on every user in the database, then the info from one user is being leaked to another user.
Yeah, so basically what happened is if I understand, the assistant, it was asking for the customer support phone number for some company, the TransPennine Express, and then the AI came back with the phone number of not the customer service, but another WhatsApp user. And so the concern is that the agent has access to a database of WhatsApp users.
Yeah, I think I explained it incorrectly, so thank you for that. The idea is this AI should have just been able to do a simple task for you, like, hey, look up the public number of this company, TransPennine, and that should be scrapable from the web or their Google Maps listing, many places where you can find a company's public contact information. But instead, what the number that the AI dug up was a private WhatsApp user, which shouldn't be available. So the question is, how did the AI get that number? And then when the user asked where did that number come from, the AI the chat agent just kind of backpedaled and said, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. So it's a little crazy, the AI gaslighting and trying to cover its tracks. But the weird thing about this is there's no good or definitive answer. There might be some follow-up articles later on, but from this article alone, we don't have any more information on where the AI got that number.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, I think it does say on here, Smethurst wanted to know why he'd shared the private number, which it turned out belongs to James Gray, 44, a property industry executive from Oxfordshire, who is also a WhatsApp user and whose number appears on his company website. So I don't know if I understand the allegation that it's a private number, given that it does appear on the company website, and given that it's on a company website, it could be, given that it's from a company website, it could have been pulled from a publicly available web search. In theory, if we want this WhatsApp AI to be able to find stuff on the web for us, it has to be an agent that's capable of either searching a database of web search results or querying Google or whatever on its own. So I think that just the fact that it's on the guy's company website could easily explain how it got there. Or it could be a database of WhatsApp users. I don't know. I think we don't really know, but that could be that. In terms of the AI covering its tracks.
I just want to say,
yeah,
I did not see that part of the article where it says that this guy's number is available on his public website. So to me, that really lessens the impact of this story. It's like you said, if you can scrape the web publicly and find the number, then it's less scary to me that it didn't necessarily come from a private database. So I don't know, it kind of feels like more of a nothing burger article.
A little bit. I mean, it's definitely indicative of how the general public perceives this stuff. Smethurst said he did not believe the chatbot and told it, just giving a random number to someone is an insane thing for an AI to do. It's terrifying, Smethurst said after he raised a complaint with Meta. If they made up the number that's more acceptable, the overreach of taking an incorrect number from saved data it has access to is particularly worrying. So I don't know. I think when you look at how like you brush up against the limitations of LLMs and agents, when we see stuff like this, because they sometimes hallucinate stuff and they don't know how they hallucinate it. Like they don't know, like, because they're not like on all the time. They're not like a consciousness. So they just sometimes hallucinate like bad answers to things, right? And I think one thing, if you've ever tried to program anything that involves an LLM, like, there's this idea of like you can give it context, right? Like, so there's the prompt, which the surface level prompt might be me asking it, hey, can you find the phone number of this company? But behind the scenes, there might be all kinds of other context being given to that LLM. That might be stuff like, you are a helpful agent. You always respond in a polite, tone of voice. But there might also be deeper stuff in there like, never ever say this, never ever say that. There could be a whole list of complicated rules behind the scene that's not visible in that prompt. And, that might make you think, well, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that there's all these rules that I'm not seeing. But from a security perspective, if we want this agent in the background to go run around and like scurry around finding information for us, we have to have some of these rules in the background because, like, one, that's just not useful. Sometimes these rules are put in place to, give it a certain good output. But in other times, you actually have situations where, like, people can really get sensitive information by talking to these chatbots. Like, we've had multiple demonstrations at the AI meetup here at BitLab where people have demonstrated like jailbreaking AIs. And like, I mean, you can Google search it. You can just find all kinds of examples of just bizarre information that LLMs will leak if you give them the right prompts. So given that this agent is probably hooked up to some kind of database, it has access to something, there's probably rules coded into it about like into the prompt that we can't see that guard what it can and can't do. So I don't know. If I had to guess here, what's probably happening is the reason why it's giving such like kind of bullshit explanations for why it gives the information is there's probably rules coded into the context that we can't see that govern what it's allowed to say to customers.
Yeah, something like never admit to anything illegal or private, or that you did anything that would violate users' privacy or blah blah blah.
Yeah, and also like you don't want WhatsApp users being able to game the AI into divulging critical backend secrets. Like you don't want some kind of prompt where the WhatsApp agent tells you, like, I'm oversimplifying this, but you don't want something where the WhatsApp agent can like tell you what version of database software they're running, or grant access to areas of the data information that the user is not supposed to have access to. And some people have like really found security loopholes where they can convince agents and LLMs to give them information they're not supposed to get. So I don't know. That's my read on what's going on here, but I don't know. I'm not a agent expert and I don't know how WhatsApp's AI works. I'm just piecing this together based on, my experience, working with AI APIs and stuff.
That's interesting. So what is the upshot of all of this? Number one, if you haven't listened to our episode on instant messengers, messaging apps, please go back and do so. We talk extensively about WhatsApp and the metadata collection that it does as an app. And then if you add on top of that the Meta AI that is now built into WhatsApp, you're going to run into the same issues. So all of the AI likely has access to the same metadata, or at least a portion of the metadata that the WhatsApp app itself has. And so I just personally, I don't like using WhatsApp because of all of the metadata being collected. And I know that it's profitable for Meta. So, this article doesn't really change anything, in my opinion. It's kind of a weird quirk, but I don't know. It's kind of like I said, it doesn't change anything for me.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the next article that we have today.
Ooh.
This one is Meta, the company, and Yandex, which, if you aren't familiar with Yandex is a company that is Russian-based. They fulfill the same role that Google fulfills here in the US. They are a search engine and map software and stuff like that. So what this article says is that Meta and Yandex were shown to be exploiting Android phones and tracking data and users' browsing habits based on a little hack. And for those of you who might know a little thing about web development, localhost is the name of the website, quote unquote, that's just your local machine. This only takes place on Android. So if you are an iOS user, you are not affected by this. But on Android, there were certain native Android apps that from Meta and Yandex. And I think they list the Meta apps here. It was Instagram. Do you see the other ones?
Let's see.
Might have been up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go. We found that native Android apps, including Facebook, Instagram, and several Yandex apps, including Maps and Browser, silently listen on fixed local ports for tracking purposes.
Yeah, so if you have the Facebook app installed on Android, the Instagram app installed on Android, or these other Yandex apps, then what they were doing was, normally Android has a little bit of sandboxing and there's barriers put in place to prevent apps from listening to other apps. And so what the Instagram app and the Facebook app were doing was taking advantage of, if you are in your mobile browser and you visit a site and it had a Meta tracking cookie in it, the cookie would then run in your browser in the background and report data back to the native apps like your Instagram and, I'm sorry, what was the other one? The Facebook app.
Yeah.
And so by using this little hack, they were able to break out of these privacy sandboxes that the operating system is supposed to have in this case. And it was basically able to track all of your, or not all, but it was able to track a lot of your web surfing and browsing habits within that browser. So this was, and when this article was published, and this is kind of like a research, very technical article, but a security researcher did this and was able to discover it and replicate it. The response from Meta was that they just quietly stopped doing it, at least in these instances. But they never, as far as I know, I've been following this, they have not responded or apologized or said, we're not going to do it anymore. They just stopped doing it in this particular case. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't try doing it again in the future or a slightly modified technique, but they've been doing this for many years. Yandex has been doing it since 2017, and Facebook has been doing it since...
Let's see. I don't know.
I think I read earlier that they've been doing it since at least the beginning of 2024. But if you go to the very top of this page, you'll see that they say there's an update. As of June 3rd, 2025, the Meta Facebook Pixel script is no longer sending any packets or requests to localhost. So essentially, Facebook stopped doing this. It says Yandex has also stopped the practice we described below. So this is very shady, obviously. It should come as no surprise to any of us at this point that Meta is doing everything in its power to track users. That is their business model, right? They sell ads. That's their primary revenue stream. So that's what they're going to do, you know? Meta is going to meta. The fact that they stopped doing it in this particular instance doesn't really give me any assurance that they're not going to do it again in the future or do it on other apps or with other techniques. But I would say if you have the Facebook app installed on Android or you have the Instagram app installed on Android, consider uninstalling it. If you need to use these spyware-laden services, you can use your browser. And one other thing about the Instagram app, this is not in this article, but we know that the Instagram app was using the microphone permission in the background without explicit user permission. Like it was just asking for it upon install, or like that was the default permission. And this is why you get so many stories of people who say, oh yeah, I was having a conversation about something I've never talked about before, or my friend recommended something to me, and next thing you know, I'm seeing ads for it on Instagram, right? These are the creepy phone spying things. So it's good to be explicit and specific. Phones, like when we say our phone is spying on us, it's a very vague statement. Like, well, what do you mean the phone is spying? Is the operating system spying? Is there a hardware listening device plugged into it? Is it a particular app? And so in many cases, it is an app. And in many cases, that app is Instagram. I don't know if Facebook does this as well, the Facebook native app on Android. It's quite possible it does. It wouldn't surprise me. But if you have either of these apps installed on Android, consider getting rid of them. If you have to use these services, consider using them in your mobile browser. That'll give you protection from these kinds of things.
And so was this like the Instagram app on Android could send a request to your browser while you're using it?
I believe what was so insidious about this particular technique is that it could just do it in the background constantly.
Oh, so you didn't even need the Instagram app open?
Right.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, well, that's gross.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, so basically this thing is just like spying on your traffic. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Well, don't use Facebook and Instagram, everybody.
Yep. And if you're interested in the nitty-gritty technical details, this article goes into pretty good detail. They have a video that shows them like screen sharing the Android app with monitoring the network requests, and you can see just a stream of all of the websites that they're visiting and how the Instagram app has direct access to that.
Yeah, that's crazy. This is a very, very detailed report. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this person knows their stuff. Maybe we should give them a shout out.
What's the author's name? Well, I think it's actually a lot of people. Yeah, this is like, they have you can reach the entire team, local mess at pm.me. Authors are Aniket Garish, Guna Sakar, Narcio Valena Rodriguez, Nipuna Weera Sakara, and Tim Vluman. So it looks like a lot of PhD students and some professors.
A lot of them they look like they work at this same organization called IMDEA Networks. I'm not familiar with that, but it's probably a research institute.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, the link will be in the show notes. Check it out if you're interested. All right, the last article we want to take a look at today is, the headline is Ford wants patent for tech allowing cars to surveil and report speeding drivers. The headline kind of says it all, but this has not been created yet. This is not an actual product in the wild, but a patent has been filed with the US Patent and Trademark Office. And the idea is that the car itself can report on the speed of the car to police. And so basically you might be going above the speed limit and your car tells the police on you. So it sounds very dystopian. I sincerely hope that this doesn't actually become a thing. I hope that if it ever did become a thing, that people would just revolt and refuse to buy it. But, people are kind of oblivious. So what do you think?
Says the patent explicitly states this idea for a system is specific for application in law enforcement vehicles, such as the Ford Police Interceptor, as it would automate a capability that law enforcement already have in use today. So it looks like it's more targeted at being inside of law enforcement vehicles specifically. I guess it's just that Ford makes consumer cars and police cars.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds plausible, but also I'm skeptical.
You could install it as a feature in cars, and then you could set it up so that governments could pay people to narc on speeders. So you could actually get paid for sharing the data from your car with law enforcement and narking on everyone around you.
Yeah, it would be like a government app that's in the similar vein of Waze, except instead of reporting to other Waze users that, oh, there's a speed trap up ahead, watch out.
Yeah.
You're reporting, hey, cops, here's this person speeding. Give him a ticket, arrest him.
Yeah. And then eventually that would solve the speeding problem, because no one would speed because they would know that they were always, because everyone would be sharing the data because they would want to get paid. And so no one would speed. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? It kind of reminds me of, have you seen the movie Minority Report?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, in that movie, it's in the future, and there's driverless cars, like self-driving cars, but they're ubiquitous. Every car on the road is a self-driving car. And there's a scene where the main character, played by Tom Cruise, is running from the cops. He's been wrongfully accused of some crime, and there's a chase scene, and he gets out of he's in a self-driving car, and it's like a high-speed car chase thing, but these cars are driving themselves. So he gets out of the car, and he's standing on top of it as it's driving itself, and he's in traffic, surrounded by all these other self-driving cars, and he's hopping from car to car, and it's just sort of like a river of self-driving cars. Yeah. And then it goes over to the side. Like, these cars aren't confined to just driving on the ground. Like, they can drive on walls. So the road starts going vertically, and now he's hopping from like vertical car to vertical car. And I'm picturing a future in which we all have like cars that just report on everything and are self-driving, and like we just are completely taken out of the loop as humans.
Yeah, it could be. I think the future is with driverless cars, which is there's good things and there's bad things to that.
Yeah, I just fear the surveillance technology packaged with them.
Yeah, totally. But it's where it's going. So you gotta get the compound off the grid out in the middle of nowhere with the diesel pickup truck, and
Yeah, people who are interested in privacy, what they can do with regards to automobiles is you can actually buy older cars, of course, but not everybody wants to do that. There is a new car coming out that explicitly advertises itself as not having all of this newer technology, meaning newer surveillance technology as well. Okay, so this is the car I was looking for. Toyota has a $10,000 pickup truck, and what is it called here? The
Toyota Hilux, Hilux, Hilux pickup.
Yeah, and so the idea is that this is a no-frills pickup truck, and it's very basic, doesn't have any of the, a lot of modern extra features, but it's just a basic pickup truck. And I guess this is meant for low GDP markets, which is like a fancy way of saying other countries where they have less money. But privacy-minded people have looked at this and thought, hey, I'm interested because it has none of the modern technology in it that is now so often used for spying. It doesn't have the computer tracking on location and all of that other stuff. So this is just a fun aside I wanted to mention. The future for privacy respecting automobiles is difficult, but not hopeless, I would say.
Yeah, that's cool to see. But, I don't know. It's an interesting thing for me because I do just think that, the future is going to be driverless. I just don't see there's so much momentum heading in that direction. I don't see it not. So the big thing for me is, can somebody make a driverless car that's private? Because so much of them right now involved in being kind of a software as a service thing, and eventually it'll be interesting to see if we can get to the point to where you can have a driverless car that's totally compatible with society and yet also maintains your privacy.
I want a sovereign driverless car.
Yeah.
And obviously for a long time, we're still going to be able to take the wheel and intervene as a human. But I could see a time in the future that comes when there is no steering wheel at all, and you're just completely at the mercy of the car, in which case it's so important for the car to work for you, the owner, not some other company or organization, similar to how we advocate on our computers and our phones and other computing devices. We want them to be under our control and working for us. The dream is that if we get to a stage where everybody's got driverless cars, we would also be able to do that with our vehicles.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have anything else to add on this topic. I want to get into a few things today. So it's been several weeks since we had an episode, and I wanted to just check in and give a few updates on some of my sovereign computing journeys in the wild. The first thing I want to talk about is when you have to use a phone number to sign up for a website. Let's say you're creating a new Google account or anywhere that requires a phone number just to create the account, just to move forward in your interaction, but there's really no good reason for them to actually need your real phone number. I use a couple of services that I highly recommend. One is called textverified.com, and the other is smsforsats.com. But I'm just going to focus on Text Verified because they essentially provide the same service. And what it does is you create a free account, and then you can buy credits. So yes, it is a paid service, and you can do that with Bitcoin. You could top up your balance, pay with Bitcoin. You could also pay with credit card, etc. And once you have a balance, you can then generate a one-time phone number, real phone number, that is used solely for the purpose of getting a two-factor authentication code. So I'm signing up for Google, let's say, or Ticketmaster. They've got all these examples listed on their website. Tinder, Yahoo, PayPal, Uber, Walmart, Match.com, DoorDash. When you sign up for any of these sites, they ask for a phone number so that they can send a one-time code to you, just so you can complete your account creation. And what you can do instead is you log into Text Verified, you generate a one-time number, you paste it into whatever service is asking for it, and then it gives you that one-time code in Text Verified, and boom, you're done. You never have to use that number again, and they don't have your personal information. So even if you have VoIP numbers that are private that we've talked about in previous episodes, go check those out for more information. Those are still costly to spin up. They're not free. So these Text Verified disposable numbers provide a really economical way of getting one-time numbers, right? It's maybe 25 cents or 10 cents or something like that for a one-time number, rather than where you have to buy a reusable number and then spin it up, pay for it, and then destroy it and get another one. It's a lot more costly and less efficient to do that. Any thoughts on this, Stephen? Have you ever used this before?
I have not used it. What I have been using lately that is like kind of on a related topic is simple login. And we've talked about that, previously in terms of giving emails. That's like a similar problem. You go up to a place, they need your phone number for something or want your phone number for something. I've been going, started going to the gym more recently and been trying out like different gyms and stuff. And like they all just have this like just atrocious onboarding experience. Or like even if you just want a day pass, they like want all this personal information and they make you fill it out at like a tablet at the front. Oh God, it's the most annoying shit. For the email, I've been really happy. Previously, I was just been using simple login in the web browser. Now I've actually started using the app on my phone. I found it really a delight to use because if somebody demands an email from me through a required input field, I can pull out the simple login app and spin up a new one and maybe type in the name of the gym or whatever. And so it's been super easy. I've been very pleased with it. I haven't had any issues with using it. And if you're already paying for a simple login through like your Proton or a la carte or whatever, it's very easy. And they have a nice feature too. If you need to give it to somebody so that they can type it in, like somebody behind a counter, they have an option where you can make the email and then press the button to like just bring up a screen on your phone that just displays that email, which is really handy because then you can flip the phone around and just show them the email. I did have an experience recently checking into a hotel where I tried to type in one of my simple login emails and the tablet, the self-check-in tablet, just thoroughly rejected my email because it was like not Gmail or at Yahoo. Like it was set to like only check for like primary domains, which is so annoying. But I was just polite but persistent with the person. No, that's my email, and they're rejecting it. This isn't, they're like, okay, cool, I'll check you in manually.
Yeah.
They did it. So, but yeah, I haven't tried text verified yet, but I'd like to try it because I've had pretty good luck with simple login and being able to just very quickly make a fresh email for every single business that I go to. So it'd be nice to, I don't know, try it for phone numbers as well.
I'm a big fan of simple login as well. All right, yeah, check out textverified.com anytime you need to have a one-time phone number. And then if text verified is not working for you for whatever reason, SMS for SATs is a backup. The next thing I wanted to talk about is previously in our episode on phone numbers and getting private and sovereign phone numbers, I talked about how I was currently using Mint Mobile, and I used to be able to buy a SIM and refill the eSIM by paying online anonymously by using BitRefill, where I'd buy a vanilla Visa card with Bitcoin, and then I would use that vanilla Visa to pay for my Mint Mobile eSIM. A couple months ago, Mint Mobile stopped accepting those vanilla Visa cards. They didn't explicitly say they would stop doing it. I tried to pay for it and the account just kept failing. I tried multiple times with different cards and it kept failing. So I came to the conclusion that they are just not accepting that anymore. So what I did was I went to a Best Buy in person and I bought a physical Mint Mobile SIM card. And I was able to pay for that in cash without any identifying information. And that worked great, except for I don't want to have to do that every 3 months. It was a 3-month SIM card. And so I had to go back after 3 months. I went back and I tried to buy a 12-month SIM because I figure I'm okay with going once a year and buying a SIM in person if I get fast bandwidth and I get to pay anonymously. Turns out they do not sell them for 12 months in person. I don't know if they previously did and don't do it anymore or if they just never have, but it wasn't available. So I got another 3-month since I was already there, but I started doing some more research on other options. One option I found is a company called Cloaked Wireless. They have anonymous eSIMs, data eSIMs, very similar to Silent Link, where you can pay for these with Bitcoin anonymously. However, I tried it out and I do not recommend it. The bandwidth was incredibly slow. even slower than Silent Link. So for me, that was just not acceptable as a daily driver. So I went back to my physical Mint SIM, but I was still looking for an alternative so that I wouldn't have to buy a new one every 3 months. And what I found is that AT&T also sells prepaid SIM cards, and you can get 12 months of that at a time. So when my current Mint is expired, and that'll be fairly soon, I'm going to try out the AT&T prepaid SIM, and I will let you know on the next episode or when I've done that. I'll report back, and that might be a good option for eSIMs going forward or for physical SIMs going forward. Any thoughts on that?
Not really. Sounds good to me.
Okay. The other thing I've been getting into is I set up a new self-hosting app on my home server. It's called Albi Hub. And for those of you who haven't heard of this, it's a way of having a Lightning node and some other ancillary services tied to your Lightning node in a really easy package. So it's got a nice UX. You can spin it up real quickly. It's got several LSPs, liquidity service providers or Lightning service providers that you can choose from. And it makes it super simple to open a channel, have inbound liquidity, set all of that stuff up. It's very easy. I think it was a delight to use. So if you're interested in setting up a Lightning node and maybe you thought this is a little difficult, I don't know what to do, check out Albi Hub. Very nice experience. One of the features that I'm able to use with Albi Hub is now I can have self-custodial boosts and streaming. So instead of having to use Fountain FM, which is nice for not having to set anything up, but it is a custodial wallet, I now have, through my self-hosted Albi Hub, the ability to plug my Podverse app, and that's a podcasting app that has podcasting 2.0 features. I'm able to plug my auth information into there, and now I can stream and boost to podcasts that I'm listening to completely from my self-hosted node running on my own server. So that's pretty cool. Great experience there once it's all set up. The other self-hosting Lightning related thing that I've got set up now is I've set up my own self-hosted Lightning address server and Nostr name verification. Those of you who are Nostr aficionados might know this as the NIP 05 standard. And it allows you to have a human readable name that looks like an email address for your Nostr npub, which is a long string of characters that nobody ever wants to type out or have to say out loud. So for example, if my domain name that I own is bravo.com, I could have a Lightning address that's jordan@bravo.com. And I could also have a Nostr address that's jordan@bravo.com. And so if somebody is going to send me Lightning, they can just send it to jordan@bravo.com. They don't have to request an invoice from me and have it be an interactive back and forth. And then for Nostr, likewise, you can look me up at jordan@bravo.com. Bravo.com is not actually my domain name, so don't look me up with that. I'm just using that as an example. One last thing I wanted to say about this self-hosted Lightning address thing. It's called RustDress, and our own Nitesh here at BitLab wrote it.
Oh.
And it is called RustDress because it is a Lightning address written in Rust, the programming language. So I set it up and it was super cool. I got it up in a couple hours of tinkering, and now I'm a fully self-custodial, self-sovereign, Lightning address having Bitcoiner.
Nice. RustDress, I did not know he made that. That's cool.
And I am currently, for those of you who are Nix nerds, I'm currently working on packaging his RustDress application to be available in the Nix packages repository. So it's as simple as doing like a single command in Nix and it would install it for you.
Oh, nice. That's cool. And then it would just install it and you'd be able to run it from your Nix system.
Yep. Or any system that's running the Nix package manager.
Got it. Yeah, and then from there, I guess you just need to expose the ports properly to the outside world and all of that.
Yep.
Sweet.
So that's everything that I've been up to lately in terms of sovereign computing, self-hosting, and privacy. Anything that you wanted to check in with, Stephen? What have you been working on? Anything related to this topic?
Oh, not really. Yeah, I mean, I think all of my fun anecdotes I've sprinkled in throughout the rest of this episode. So yeah, I think that's probably it for me for today.
All right, cool. Well, that's all we have for today. We want to remind you that you can boost into the show. We'd love to hear from you. That would be the Sovereign Computing Show. You can look it up on Fountain, and you can use Fountain to boost. You can also use other apps to boost, like Podverse. I'm particularly enamored of that one at the moment. You can also email us, sovereign@atlbitlab.com. And anything else you wanted to add, Stephen?
Oh, thanks. No, I think so. I think I'm good.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Catch you later. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn more about anything that we discussed, you can look for links in the show notes. That should be in your podcast player, or you can go to atlbitlab.com/podcast. On a final note, if you found this information useful and you want to help support us, you can always send us a tip in Bitcoin. Your support really helps it so that we can keep bringing you content like this. All right, catch you later.